Hello, Eagles Nest family and friends. This is Pastor Lee, and I want to welcome you to the Midweek Moment. We are so excited to bring you the Word of God today, and I'm equally excited to have a special guest delivering the Word for you. His name is Darren Youngstrom. I've known Darren for over 15 years. In fact, maybe you have heard of Darren. He's had a tremendous impact on thousands of students in the North Fulton area. He discipled one of my sons when he was in high school, and Darren is just so highly regarded. So welcome, Darren Youngstrom. What's up?
Well, not much, Lee. Thanks for having me. We're here together, quarantined, so
Yes.
It's good to be here, and just thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we got to dap each other up, man.
Elbow
Yeah.
to elbow, that's how we show love, but thanks
That's
for having me. My guess is that some of us have spent a little bit of time binge watching recently. Now, don't get worried. This is not a couch potato call out. I've been doing it myself. In fact, the other day, I got caught going down the black hole of YouTube, you know, where it just sinks and you go further and further, video after video after video, and you look up and 2 hours later, you're like, how long have I been watching these videos? And I got caught binge watching this show called How It's Made. Now, it's an older show. It's not a super cool show or anything, and so I don't know if you've seen it or heard of it, but it's basically a show about how all the regular things and products that we use in life are made, are created. And I probably watched, I don't know, 10 in a row. Watched one about bowling balls and balloons and matchsticks and jelly beans. And then I got to one about bubble gum. Lee, do you remember this stuff, this double bubble? Yeah. I was watching the show of how this is made, and I got fascinated by it. Now, what they do is they take, by the way, there's rubber inside of this gum, so just in case you know, you want to know that, but they take all the ingredients and they put it in a big mixer and they stir it up, and then they get this consistency of bubble gum, and they put it through a squeezer, and they squeeze it and they roll it out, and then they put it through this little stretcher, and it stretches long lines of bubble gum, and then it gets shaped through a shaper, and then it hits the chopper and the cutter, and it starts cutting it up into little pieces, and then it starts throwing it into packaging. It has these twisters that twist the packaging, and then they weigh it, and they put it in a chute, and they throw it into this bucket. And I was watching this show about bubblegum, and I thought to myself, who figured that out? Like, what genius figured out that I need some rubber, and I need it in this vat, and I need to make this machine that'll stretch it and pull it and twist it? And who figured that out? I mean, it's an amazing process if you think about it. And I started thinking to myself, well, how are we made? And I don't mean like that. I mean, I have 3 kids. I know how we're made, not physically, but how are great people made? Like, how do you become a great person, a person of character, a person of maturity, a person of joy, a person of peace and contentment? Like, who figured that out? Because there's a process for us to be that way. And as I started reading and thinking about it, of course, the answer is that God figured it out. God knows what it takes to make us great. He knows the production line that he has set up. And it involves some squeezing and some pressing and some pulling and some shaping along the way. I'm going to read a passage for you this evening, and I just want to put it in context of an episode of How It's Made. And I'm going to call this How It's Made Great People. When I read this passage, you've probably heard it before. It's a pretty common passage. But I want you to think about it in the context of the way God makes you and me great. It's from James chapter 1, verse 2 through 4, and it says this: "Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because we know that the testing of our faith produces perseverance. And perseverance will finish its work so that you will become complete and mature, not lacking anything." Now, what's his point? You've heard that before, and we're in the middle of this coronavirus, and we're going through difficult times and wondering what's going to happen. Does that count as all things? Like, consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds. Is this a many kinds trial? Yeah, it is. This is one of the many kinds of trials we might face. And his point is this. His point is that in the middle of this difficult thing, you and I, we can have joy. Because in God's production line, we can be confident that something good is coming off that production line. Something good is coming from what's happening. The thing that you're going through right now, this challenge we're in, that's not good. But where God's going with it, it's always good. So we can have confidence of that in this time. I want to tell you a quick story about my marriage. Now, I have permission to share this, okay? My wife said I was allowed to share it. So Lee, you know about making sure you have permission on marriage stuff. But I asked my wife if I could share this. In the beginning of our marriage, the first 4 years of our marriage, they were rough. We couldn't understand each other. We oftentimes spent time alone in our own places asking God why he even let it happen. We were so frustrated we couldn't get along. It felt like I'd waited for so long and prayed for this person, and then all of it was falling apart. And we struggled and we fought. And then after some time and some counseling and some understanding and learning about each other, we began to come back together and heal. And I want to tell you that those 4 years that were difficult, while I really didn't enjoy them, they weren't fun, God was doing something in the middle of it. In fact, I can't tell you the number of people that we've had sit across from us, the number of couples at our dinner table who said our marriage has fallen apart and we don't know where to turn. And we were able to look at them and say, well, welcome, we know your story very well. In fact, it can be solved and it can get better and you can love one another deeper than you ever imagined. And God took the difficult times of our marriage to turn us into people who can help other people in ways we never imagined. In fact, sometimes God allows the things he hates in order to accomplish the things that he loves. And I know he loves seeing us, my wife and I, able to help people going through the same thing we went through. And I don't know what you're going through. You're stuck at home, you're scared, you're nervous, you're lonely. Maybe some of you have lost your job, money is running out, challenges are abounding and growing. I just want you to know that you're in process. You're on the production line. And the thing you're going through, it's not good, but where you're going and where God's taking you is. He's taking you to maturity. He's taking you to being complete, the person he wants you to be for a purpose and for a reason. This week, I would love it if maybe you took a piece of bubble gum. Maybe it's not this kind, but you took a little piece of bubble gum, you took a piece of gum, and you put it in your mouth. Lee, you can have one if you want. And you chewed it. Now come to it right now. When you put it in your mouth and you chew it, and when you think about that gum, I want you to think this gum went through a process, and somebody figured out how to make gum. In the same way, you're in a process. God is figuring out how to make you mature and complete, not lacking anything. So be joyful in the midst of the trial, because something good is coming off God's production line every time.
Thank you, Darren. Man, that was awesome, man.
Well, thanks for having me. I apologize for admitting that pastors binge watch things.
Yes, we haven't had anything to do but binge watch. And of course, we study for the Bible studies and
we
so
binge
forth.
Study too,
That's
of
right.
course.
We do,
Yeah,
we do. Darren, I believe that helped a lot of people. And I'm just so excited, man, about what God is doing in your life. And don't forget to tune in every week to the Midweek Moment. God bless you, and let's get ready to soar.